Hi, welcome back again to the lecture on the falling rates of profits, which is part of the Marxian economics course, by the way. And in this part, actually, we will look back to the logic of Tokishio's theorem and how he proves that when a company makes an innovation that is increasing its profit rate, it basically needs to have to increase also the economy-wide profit rates, basically. So I won't show you the actual proof, but I will basically show the logic of the proof, uh, for which basically, well, we use a special model. Hoshio has used a special model called Sraffian model, where basically, well, first uh, there are various type of prices, and those prices are one of those prices are made one. So in this case, actually, this is the capital sector. By the way, this is the consumer sector. So this should stand there. Actually, I will make corrections for this lecture note. But basically, the price of consumer goods is one. The price of the capital goods is y, which is relative to the consumer goods, and all prices are relative to consumer goods. In addition to the capital goods, also labor has a price which is equal to v. You don't have price for capital; you have profit rate, which is equal to p, basically. So basically, this represents the cost for the capital goods sector, for which we have the amount of capital goods that are used in the production, which is C cap, and the price of the capital goods, which is Y, the number of the units of capital goods that are used, which is 1. Well, the number of products that are produced, which is 1. Um, so this is the amount of capital goods used for producing 1 unit of the product. Similarly, the amount of labor you use for 1 unit of product, the wage, and the quantity you produce, and this is the total, your total revenue, let's say, which is equal to the the price of the capital goods times 1, which is basically the number of units you produce, and you multiply all of these costs with 1 plus profit rate, which gives you the original cost plus the profit amount that is taken by the producer. A similar thing is also done for the labor sector, for the consumer sector, by the way, but in that case, you have C cons and L cons, which gives the labor and the capital goods quantities that are necessary to produce the consumer goods, basically. And we have fixed the wage, by the way. How do we know we have fixed the wage? We know because the price of the consumer goods is fixed at 1, and when wage doesn't change, in that case, the buying power of the wage remains the same, because workers basically buy them consumer goods. They don't buy them capital goods, basically. So this is our starting point. In this system, basically, the two variables that are changing are, at least in the Okishio's framework, the profit rate and the price of the capital goods. Except that all other quantities, the V, L cap, C cap, C cons, L cos, are fixed. And let's say we give them values like this. This is your lecture, so you can review it. But one other thing is actually this should be, I should push enter there, because these are two different equations after y. So I have, to prevent confusion, I have reproduced them here as two different equations. Let me make them a little bit larger. So again, this is the quantity of the capital goods you need. The price of capital goods times 1, the quantity of labor you need times the 0.5, which is the wage, times 1 plus p 1 is equal to 1 over y. And same thing is also done for the consumer goods, but now you have, instead of in place of the price, 1. And using this equation, you have two unknowns in this equation, which is one of them is p, the other one is y. So using these two, you have two equations. When you have two equations and two unknowns, you can basically solve the equation. And I'm not going into how to solve this equation, which you don't need to know also. But if you are interested, you can solve. I did the solving process, by the way, and the results are this: P is 45%, Y is 1.64, which means it is 64% higher than its price is 64% higher than the consumer goods. Now, we have a technological advancement in the capital goods sector, so C cap will become 0.5, L cap will become 0.1. So let's copy this and put it here. And then I will happen what's happening beyond this. So remember, we have found y as 1.64. So this is capital sector, so this is similar to the first equation. We have a technological advancement which decreases labor a lot. Actually, it is decreased from 0.3 to 0.1, 1/3. But the the amount of capital goods necessary is also decreased, but not as much. So it is decreased from 0.6 to 0.5 to produce 1 unit of this output, by the way. So for multiple units, it might be changing actually. So this is a typical technological change which has increased the labor productivity, but at the same time, it has increased the organic composition of capital. Why do we have here the price 1.6.4? Because initially we assume our innovation is only done by one company. This one company's innovation doesn't affect the prices, which means the price of the capital goods remains the same. So now we have one equation and one unknown. We should just make this calculation and then divide it to the 1.64 and find 1.p plus p, which will allow us to calculate the profit rate, which will be 89%, by the way. So 89% is the profit rate of the innovator in this case, because in our innovator faced with a condition where the price doesn't change. So obviously it has increased the profit rate to 89% from much lower rate, which was 45%. So what happens next? Next, our whole equation system will change, because now the innovation will spread to the whole economy, and when it spreads to the whole economy, now prices will readjust, because now the innovation will affect the prices of the capital goods sector. I have changed. I got exactly the same equation system, but I have changed this part with this part. Well, exactly same equation system as I had before. Again, we have an equation system with two unknowns and two equations, so we can solve the system. And when we solve the system, which you can do, that's actually, I believe, high school math, but still some people have difficulties, so I don't spend much time since it is not too crucial for the course. So the price of the capital goods becomes 1.14 which is understandable. The productivity in the capital goods sector has increased, which will basically make the prices of the capital goods cheaper. Competition will somehow affect the prices, and which will decrease the prices. The profit rate is 84%. It's lower than 89%, which was the profit rate of the innovator, but it's still much higher than the previous profit rate. Well, you can do this type of calculation for any type of innovation, where basically you play with the available necessary constant capital or the capital goods and the labor in the economic system. But as long as the consumer goods price ratio remains constant, at least the change your innovation, when your innovation is increasing the profit rate of your innovator, well, inevitably it also increases the profit rate of the whole economic system. So our increase in our innovators' profit cannot end up with a decrease in the overall economic profit rate of the economic system. So what are we left with in this case? Well, does this totally disprove the Marxian law of tendency of profit rates to fall? Well, for some Marxian economists, yes, actually, they completely abandoned this view, and not this law was not that much liked anyway. By the way, and even in Engels, as I said in some of his works, actually, this is not the ultimate crisis that will basically make up the system fall. However, actually there were two different ways which some Marxian economists were trying to show maybe this tendency of falling profit rates might still hold, even if it is not, even if the Okishio's theorem is right. When the wages remain the same, when the buying power of the wages remains the same, the innovations tend to increase the profit rate. Even if this is right, maybe there might be some ways, some rules in the economic system which may make the profit rate falling, basically. And there are actually two different ways. One is actually taking the realization problem as a main tool to prove that. The other one is taking the exploitation rate as the main tool, and the class struggle around the exploitation rate as the main tool to prove that. Well, next we will look these additional explanations to show that the tendency of the profit rate might still be true for the economic system. Personally, actually, I should say that this was the most controversial topic, and while I was teaching this course, I have come back and forth between thinking that this theorem is true and thinking it's wrong. I think it's true now, and the main thing that convinced me is data, actually. And after data, I have found also the main problem with profit rates. Main thing that might at least create a danger, basically. I already mentioned that actually, but I mentioned that once again. The main danger, which is certainly there, whatever other things are. Anyway, let's talk about this attempt, let's say, to save the theorem in the next part of this lecture.